Thank you. Can you hear? Can you hear me, yeah? Even the cheap seats, can you hear up the back? Good. I want to thank everybody for being part of the miracle of God's grace, which is Christian Hope International. And everyone has got a part to play in it. And I'm just going to say a couple things. How it started, we had a missionary couple, and they had 2 children at that stage. We'd seen them through missionary college, and they went to Rwanda as their first posting. And then we heard about the genocide, and we were praying our wellies off that didn't know what had gone on at all. And was hearing some awful things. And I remember one Sunday morning we were praying for David and Adele and the girls. And as we came out to start the service, who should be coming up the side aisle of St. Peter's but David Stringer? It was the fastest answer to prayer I'd ever had in my life. It was absolutely glorious. And then at the end of it, he told us what was going on, and his children they were in the east part of Rwanda, so they were coming out on a different route. And the brothers and sisters said, it's best for the gospel and best for us and you if you leave and then can come back. And a couple came up at the end. They were in their early 50s. A chap called Vic, from a sort of Jewish background, hadn't long become a Christian. Knew the Stringers because he'd helped with computers and stuff, and Jan. And they came up to him at the end, and I heard this later on, and they asked the immortal question God loves to hear, is there anything I can do to help? And David said, yes, there is. You would not believe it, that at the equator, especially up country in Rwanda, premature babies were dying of cold. And if someone could just knit a blanket, you could save a life so that someone could live to learn about Jesus and have new life. And that's how it started. Didn't start with any grandiose plans. That's how it started. And it's a glorious work of God using ordinary people. Philippians 1:3-6. This is Paul writing from prison in Rome to the church in Philippi, which he had started under God from nothing, from just a prayer time by a river. And he says this, 12 years later, writing to those brothers and sisters. And this is our prayer for CHI and our partnership, Nathan. I thank my God every time I remember you. In all my prayers for all of you, I always pray with joy because of your partnership in the gospel. Paul's already prayed about that. Because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now, being confident of this, that he, God, who began a good work in you, in all of us, will bring it to completion at the day of Christ Jesus. Isn't that marvellous? Now, Bishop Nathan, when I first met you, you were nothing, to be honest. Well, you know, you certainly weren't a bishop. No, I mean, that's, sorry, well, let's get down to brass tacks. I first met him in a place called Gisenyi in northwest Rwanda, which is up country. Now, you know me, I'm really good with the hot weather. We get into Kigali, I'm bailing out left, right and centre. We go to Gisenyi, which is a load cooler. Whoa, this is nice. Looks round, and old Nathan's putting on jumpers and overcoats and all stuff because he's so cold. Do you remember that? He's so cold. But what a dear, dear, dear brother. And that's when we met over 20 years ago. He hasn't changed at all, honestly. Really hasn't. Can you just give us a bit of background then, you know, because I met you, I don't know how old you were then, mid-20s, something like that. Yeah. Where and when you were born? What was your early life, you know, just up to schooling? Wow. We've got a long time, so take your time. So the cars aren't on meter, we're all right, you know.
My early life, I think it's something that people here in Europe would not understand. But I will try to explain. My father was a cattle keeper. He kept cows and goats and chicken and dogs. So our dogs were not pet dogs. They were police security dogs that helped us against wild animals or anybody who is not a goat or a cow or a sheep. And then So from early days, I was being trained to be a cattle keeper. We did not keep cows like the modern farming way. We kept cows in a traditional way. So we walked with them, grazed them. And
what country were you in then?
In Western Uganda.
Western Uganda.
My
right.
parents were refugees from Rwanda into Western Uganda.
So when did that happen?
Now, he wants to know my birthday.
So you're in Uganda, yeah?
Yes. I was born in 1966, so I'm 57 years old.
It doesn't look it.
But my parents did not know the day I was born, so I didn't have a birthday. But I made it up anyway, so that you can go on the documents. My brother knew the month and the year I was born, but he did not know the date. So that was easy. I fixed it for myself. Yeah. Unfortunately, these days I can't change it.
So when you were growing up, what was your first contact with Jesus, with Christianity?
It was earlier on. Maybe I was around 7. I really don't remember. Like I told you, I don't. So age never mattered. What was important is that you are born and you are growing and you are healthy. But it was one morning, and we had been milking our cows in the morning. And after that, there are these 3 men who came riding their bicycles. It was later I learned that they were from remnants of East African revival that happened in 1935.
Right, yeah.
But these ones just came riding their bicycle, and when they reached in front of our homestead, I think they were lazy to come and evangelize to us. So they decided to sing.
Yeah.
And they were saying, Tukute tendereza Yesu, Yesu oli mwana gwandego, Yesu Musa. You know, they went on. And that attracted me. They just looked different. It was like they had something tangible, something good that I wanted. And being cattle keepers, we sang. We sang a lot. We danced. Our culture is full of dancing and songs and expressive. But these men, they really had something real. And at that early age, I felt like I wanted to go tell them, please give me they had something like joy that was oozing out of them. But very quickly they got back on their bicycles after singing, and off they went. You know, the fastest thing we had in our village was a bicycle. They were so fast. And anyway, to cut the story short, I began to ask, who are these men? Remember, nobody goes to church. My father is not a Christian. My mother is not a Christian. We think Christians is another tribe. So we have we are not envious. We are not missing anything. But I begin to say, where did these men come from? And they tell me, you know, they are from a place called church. They meet on a day called Sunday, and they sing. And I thought that was the kind of place for me. Yeah. So I placed one of my sisters, and one Sunday she took me to church. And on arriving in the church, they were singing songs. I still remember the songs. It's now 50-something years. But I remember, Ibyaha byanje Yesu, warabyikoreye, watigeze gukora icyaha naki. And unfortunately, you can't understand. But anyway, that song was like, Jesus carried away my sins. And it was like somebody was washing me with water. I could really feel like my sins were dropping and I was becoming better. And so I started that journey of being a Christian. But I can't tell you I became a Christian on Wednesday in evening fellowship. Because Christianity was a different culture, was a different lifestyle than the cattle keepers. So I remember going and everybody's clapping their hands. And the way we clap hands in the cattle keeping is different. I was making mistakes, so I decided to refrain. But anyway, that's how I started.
And so at school, how did you get any schooling?
After that, we started on school, and our schools were in church, what they called church school. So they would put the beginners in that corner, and then they put second class there. The third class would come in this corner, and the fourth class would go in that corner. And by the time you are going to fifth, you are already big enough to walk a distance. Yeah. Schools were still very far. Yeah, and schools were very hard to come by. Right. Yeah. That's how I started.
I mean, not being over modest, how did you get on? Were you good at school? How did you get on? Were you sort of clever?
From that time, my parents were sending me to school, but my dad died when I had reached primary 5. Do you call it primary here? Yeah. My dad died so early, and then my mother pushed me little, then I got into the high school. Yeah. And I have an old sister called Foib. She supported me from A-level, O-level, is that how you call it here? Yeah. A-level, O-level. And when I finished A-level, she gave up on me.
A-levels gave up on me, actually,
yeah.
The other way around.
She wanted me to go study a business and help my siblings. Yeah. And I was telling her, God has called me, I want to go be a priest.
So can you explain to me sort of when did you sort of know you were a Christian, and why did you become a Christian? Can you just tell us that? Because that's interesting. It's a gradual thing. But when you first realised that you belonged to the family of God, when was that?
We kept receiving a lot of teachings, especially stories. Some of the stories were confusing, to be sincere with you. But some of the stories, especially the character of Jesus, there is no way you can avoid being a Christian when you see how Jesus conducted his life, how he talked to people, how he addressed women, his teachings, especially the Beatitudes, blessed are this, blessed are this. When they are reading the story for you, it is transformative. Yeah. So I was being transformed until one day when I felt this. Yeah. This is the time.
And that's marvellous, isn't it? Because there's somebody grown up in rural Uganda, and it's just the same experience as growing up in Harold Wood or wherever you grew up. It's all about Jesus, isn't it? And who he is, and what he offers, and how different he is to anyone you'd ever met. So you're doing well at school. So did you go beyond school?
Yes, I did. After that, after that, there was a big miracle for me. I think that was one of the humbling experiences, very humbling. I told my sister, God has called me, and I want to go to be a priest or a pastor. Wow. I don't know how you call them. I really wanted to put on the dog collar, and I wanted to be in uniform. I really wanted that. I wanted the cassock. I really wanted it. I wanted to look like a pastor. And my sister was saying, if you are going that way over my dead body, you will never talk to me again. I don't want to see you. I'm done with you. After struggling and seeing you through O-level and A-level, now you tell me you want to go be a church.
Did she feel that you were throwing your life away then with all that?
Yeah. She told me you are going to be a church mouse, like a church rat.
Oh, right.
Yeah. She says, she cut me off. Yeah. And she was transferred to another town. And I was a street evangelist for some time.
Yeah. What was that like?
Standing on the street, all these experiences have helped me to be who I am. Yeah. That's what I would say. Yeah. Because standing on the street, it takes away being shy.
I can't imagine you ever being shy, Nathan, to be honest.
I used to. But when your sister is gone, he's the only one in the city, and then you have to live in the church, around the church, you better be a street evangelist, because nobody wanted me in the pulpit. And my pastor Pastor Beron never wanted me in the pulpit. We are friends now.
So, how did you get on how did it go?
So after that, I really took on to prayer, because my sister is gone. She's all I knew, and we had come from the rural side. My mother is in the rural area. I have nobody who can help me. And the pastor doesn't want me. Pastor Benon didn't want me. He thought I was like these wild kids who run away from home.
Yeah.
No matter how much I explained I want to be a pastor, they didn't see it. And my sister was very angry with me. So I took on to prayer. To cut the story short, there was one evening service. And we come back to church in the evening. And the Pastor Bernard, the same pastor, he stands up and says, "Church, I have no message for today. But God told me there is one of you who has a message. And if you have a message from God, please come up." I felt like he was inviting my heart. I couldn't wait. I feared him, but I wanted to share what God had put on my heart. So I stood up to go and share the message at the pulpit. And Pastor Bernard said, when I stood up, there was another medical person called Bernard. Bernard stood up. By the way, do you understand my accent? I'm speaking faster.
No, that's right.
Because he's exciting me.
Yeah.
So Bernard stood up, and I also stood up. And Pastor Bernard, I told you he didn't want me. He says, "Nathan, no, it's not you. It's not you. It's Bernard."
All right.
And Bernard says, "No, I think it's both of us." So Bernard comes and holds my hand, and we walk together at the pulpit.
Yeah.
And Bernard could see that the pastor didn't want me, and he says, "I am going to share a brief message, but I feel you have a longer message. So after me, please go on." So Bernard begins to share the message, and he finishes and he says, "Nathan, now it's your turn." And that time I'm around 19.
Wow.
And I stand up in the church. I'm sharing from Psalm 91. I think it's like verse 14, 15, 16. I don't remember. But it says, "Because you have believed in my name, therefore I will honor you. I will lift you. I will. And then it finally says, "With long life will I satisfy." Before I could finish, I'm only 19. Everybody in the church is sobbing.
Wow.
They are crying. And when I saw people crying, I knew Benon is excommunicating me from the church. And I know now,
Yeah.
it is finished.
Yeah.
Where am I going? My sister doesn't want me. My pastor is going to excommunicate me. And I want to finish and go through the back door.
Yeah.
and disappear. To cut the story short, when I finished, I'm trying to run away. And Benon says, "No, Nathan, you don't go. You've made people cry. Come and pray for them." But he's giving me this look like, "I will kill you when these people go." So I come.
God works in mysterious
God
ways
works
today.
So I pray for people. Amongst the people I'm praying for, there is an old missionary who had lived in our village like for 30 years. She speaks our language, apart from being white, but she's one of us. Margaret Walker. Margaret Walker now lives in Wellingborough.
All right.
And still supports our ministry. I think Richard knows her, has gone to her home. So what I'm saying is not a mystery.
Yeah.
She's still alive. So Margaret Walker comes to Pastor Benon after it is all over and says, "Who is that young man? I feel God telling me I need to help him."
Wow.
And then after the service, I go through the back door. My sister had been transferred, but she had not moved from her house. And I knew where she used to keep the keys. So I am afraid to go back to church. I decided to stay in my sister's house. I came, passed behind, and then dropped in the house and stayed there for a night. And in the morning, I knew somebody was going to come from church and give me the message that they have excommunicated me. They don't want me any longer. So while I'm seated in front of the house, it's on the top of a hill, I see somebody coming. I knew they are bringing a letter or a message. So I wait, and it's Francis. And Francis was like my age. So I said, Francis, moreover, we go to the same school. No, let me hear what he has for me. Francis comes and says, "Nathan, they have been looking for you at the church. They can't find you. Please come." So I said, they want to excommunicate me. He says, no. Apparently the people are blessed. Everybody is praising in the church. Things are different. You come. And I'm saying, well, that sounds good, but is it true? Anyway, let me go. Maybe I can ask Pastor Benon to forgive me. So I am practicing how I go, Pastor Benon, please, I will never do it. I'm very sorry, you know. And then when I reach at the church, Pastor Benon says, Nathan, where were you? We've looked for you all night. We can't find you. Margaret Walker is looking for you, and she's going to drive to Kampala. So very quickly, run to her house, and she wants to tell you. Right. Of course, I am seeing that the pastor has a different face. Maybe then I'm not being excommunicated. Yeah. So let me first go to this English lady and see what she has to tell me. Now, this is the first English person I'm going to talk to. And I'm trying to practice my English from school. So I'm going to tell her, how do you do, madam? Or am I going to greet her and say, good morning, you know, because you used to learn good morning, teacher. Yeah. So how do I? Anyway, let me go. And then I reach on Margaret Walker's gate. Yeah. The gate is open, one side, and the car is running. She's already getting out. And she sees me, says, Nathan, I've been looking for you, stand there. And, you know, this English way of running. She runs into the house. She comes back with a white envelope. It's like I saw it yesterday. Yeah. And hands it to me. Says, I heard you want to go to the Bible school. Wow. Please take this. Go pay whatever you need. If it's not enough, I'll give you more when you tell me. Yeah. I don't remember how I left Margaret Walker's house. But anyway, I got out on the side, then she drove off, she went. And people talk about walking in the Spirit. I think I did that day. But I quickly went. I didn't have much belongings, so I didn't go back home to pack anything. I just went to the bus and drove off to Kampala, paid all the school fees needed, replenished my suitcase. Things were not good on that side. I replenished them, new books. By evening around this time, I was at seminary sharing dinner with other students. Wow. And for 3 years, Margaret Walker paid. By the time I finished the seminary, the school owed me money. And they gave it back to me, and that's what I used to go church planting.
Yeah. So that's what you did after you graduated?
So that's how one person makes a huge difference. Like my sister made a difference, Margaret Walker makes a difference. So I'm somebody made by people anyway. Yeah.
So when you are you attached to a particular church family in Kampala?
I'm in the Anglican church.
But a particular local church then? Do you get?
If you are a bishop, you have a cathedral, but you are still involved with other parishes as well.
You were doing door-to-door evangelism in Kampala?
You mean those days or now?
No, then. So what did you do? So
I went to seminary.
Yeah, but after that, what were you?
After that, we are posted to a place called Gaba, which is Gaba. That's when I meet Richard. That's why I met Richard. This is in the outskirts of Kampala, by Lake Victoria.
Right. Yeah.
Then, because my parents were Rwandans, after genocide, there was a call for all Rwandans who could help in any way to come to Rwanda.
Is that right?
Then I moved to Rwanda.
Was that easy for you? Because you'd never lived in Rwanda.
No, it was hard. It was very hard. Really hard. Yeah, really hard. And, you know, immediately the Richards came to help. But I remember the first time Richard came and stayed in my house. I had the best house, I thought, amongst the clergy. Yeah. But there was no water. Then he asks me, where is the water? But you know, the water tank had been shot several times because they thought somebody was hiding in. So they had just managed to renovate the house, but they had not yet.
So that's I first went through around in 1998, 4 years after the genocide. You could still feel that in Kigali 4 years later, and that tragedy.
Exactly.
So you're there about, what, 1995?
1994, I was going and coming back. I moved to stay completely in 98 as well.
Yeah. Are you then part of the team at the cathedral in Kigali?
When I moved back, I'm on Archbishop's team. You remember I was Archbishop's assistant from 1998 through 2000 to 2019. 20 through 2010, 2011. I don't remember.
So I think we probably met then in about 1999 or 2000.
We met in 90. I met the Hope team, I think 99 or 98.
Yeah, because we used to go out every year from
should be like 98 because
time.
The first time we were going around, the first time I went around Rwanda,
with us.
I was going with the Hope team.
Yeah.
It's when you didn't take me that you got the accident.
Was that right?
Yes. I told you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This accident, I'll just tell you, shall I tell you about this accident? I mean, it's God's miracle. We were going, that's Vic and Jan and me, and the Bishop of Kibungo was taking us right down into the southwest. It's a long, long way, so you've got to travel, really fast. It's like being in the roads in North Wales, but there's no barriers. And so we're going round, trying to get down to Batari and further down there. And we're in a Suzuki that stands up, and there's Jan and Vic in the back, and I'm in the front with John. And we're going around this big bend. And I suddenly looked, I thought, we're not going to make it. We're going off the edge. He's not done it. So and I suddenly looked, and he's like Sterling Moss. He's pulling this thing to get it round so we don't go over the edge. And he's pulling, and of course you do that to a Suzuki. And it's just going bump, 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 bump. And it lands just before we get to a big cliff on the other side on the 4 wheels. And quick, get out, because the thing's going to explode. We think, could be. Get out. Because Jan and Vic have got no seat belts. So we get out, stunned and dazed, and started picking, and it's all over the place, and start picking up bits and pieces. And remember, Jan, we were doing all this, and then and they were a bit grazed and stuff. And I said, "Are you okay?" He said, "Well, I think I might." Vicky, he said, "I think so. I think my nose is looking as if it's about that big." But anyway, and they get all their stuff, and it's all over the floor.
Yeah.
And at the end of it all, we put it all together. The only thing that was irreparably damaged was a box of Hobnob biscuits. Well, they don't make them like they used to, do they? That was the only permanent damage in that. And the word got around, because we still got to get where we are.
Yeah.
And they came out, the next bishop came and sent a boat in a big car.
Yeah.
And we were, the last thing I wanted to do, and we wanted to do, was get back in a car. But we had to. I mean, I'm in the middle of Rwanda. I mean, I can't speak the language or anything. I don't like hot weather. What are we doing there? I'm walking around a bit stunned anyway. And the driver, see what state he's in. He said, the old universal thumbs up. I can't speak Kinyarwanda. He can't speak English. But he said to us, he said, I'll put a tape on for you. And he said, praise the Lord. And he put this praise tape on in Kinyarwanda. Do you know what the tune was? It was Ilklimor Bartat. I couldn't believe it. I thought, Lord, you have got a sense of humour. We're safe with you, aren't we? And that went around, that's that incident of God preserving his people. And they shared that, and we shared that with them. And, in a sense, it's more dramatic like that. But, in the sense that each of us, if you're you're a walking miracle of God's grace. And so is Nathan. And so far then, how you got there is a miracle, isn't it? When you think of where have we got a break for the where's our techno? It's still going, good. And so you're in Kigali.
Yes.
You're part of the team, and with the Archbishop
Collini. Yes.
The Archbishop of Collini. Fantastic. Archbishop Collini came back to Rwanda. He was in the Congo, and he came back to their archbishops get voted in. He came back to be the archbishop. He could have gone anywhere. I mean, he was, and you yourself, and I was amazed with the clergy. I mean, you went to America for later on, didn't you? I mean, the fact that these folks came back and ministered in Rwanda, they could have gone anywhere and done a good job. But that sense of calling. So was this before you went to America?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
because
So carry on. We'll pick
I
up
went
where
to
you are.
America
So you're in Kigali, part of Archbishop Emmanuel Collini's team. So
Yes.
carry on. From
Yeah,
that.
I went to America but I did not stay like I was long distance. So I would go for summer intensives and come back.
Yeah.
So I went between 2002 to 2005.
Wow. How many languages can you speak, Nathan?
Wow. I speak most of the Western Uganda languages, and then Rwandan and English, of course.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, mate, I'm struggling with English. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah. So what do you? Yeah, what were you studying in America then? And where did you go?
Yeah, I was doing a master's in mission, which is the other part of theology. It's still seminary. It's still the.
And what seminary was that?
Fuller Theological
Wow.
Seminary. Yes.
That takes some getting into, doesn't it, Fuller?
Yeah. It's just God helped me.
Oh,
through.
you didn't fib on your form, did you? Or anything, no? So you came back from Fuller then?
Yes.
And did you go back to Kigali?
I remained in Kigali because I had a family, so I would do like summer intensives, go for 6 weeks and then come back, 6 weeks and then come back. So I still maintained my parish, and then I maintained the work at the diocese.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what did that involve then, the parish work, and what sort of things were you...
Parish work is just like you have a parish here, and also, that time we were very few in Rwanda, so you had to do a lot of things. So you remember I was a headmaster for Mata School, I was a parish priest for Gikondo, and I was Archbishop Collini's assistant.
Wow. Did you get any sleep?
I was still young, so I had all the energy. I can't do it now. But at that time I tried.
So what was the next big sort of adventure of faith, if you like, from that?
From working with Archbishop Collini when he was retiring, he retired in 2010, and in 2011, that's when I was elected the bishop for Cyangugu Diocese.
Oh, you were down in Cyangugu?
So I moved to Cyangugu from that time, and then I was translated into Kigali again in 2019. Wow. So I've been in Kigali for 4 years now.
Yeah, because Cyangugu was so far away. I think the team are going to Cyangugu next year. They're going to fly. You're flying to Cyangugu.
Yeah, you have to fly.
Rather than go through
yeah.
Wow. So you're back in Kigali?
I'm back in Kigali.
So what have you been doing the last 4 or 5 years? Just to update 6 years.
More of church planting, monitoring the church growth, and also trying to help Kigali Diocese to be urban. You remember the city is growing. The city is growing and like eating the whole diocese. So it's really to make pastors aware, look, we are no longer in the countryside.
So how many people in Kigali? Because they've not been there for 20 years.
It's 20 million now.
20 million?
2 million.
2 million, yeah.
2 million in the city, but it's growing so fast.
Yeah.
If there were 2 million 4 months ago, I don't know how many there are now.
Yeah. Now, I have heard you're involved. Well, you began this, I think. Tell me if I'm wrong. The Star School project.
Yes.
What's that? I know nothing about it apart from the name.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what that's
So
about?
when I come back to Rwanda, and everybody is called back to help in the country, and I'm helping in the church, but I love the school. I love education. I love to see kids being educated, especially. I think apart from having faith, the best gift you can give to a child, second to faith, is education. Say, for example, genda umunyarwanda, bwo mundeba hanga ntabwo ndi umwongereza, simvuga icyongereza. Now, why are you confused? It's that you don't understand my language. So how could I speak to you unless I had gone to school? Unless my sister Foibe had helped me, unless Margaret Walker had helped me through school. But because I have education now, I read all the signposts from Rwanda through Brussels until I come and meet Richard. So I know my way. Education has made from a cattle keeper's son to an international child. So education is a very transformative thing. It transforms your life. So that's what I thought what I can do as a pastor is to help somebody else another child get education. So I first started with the Matter School. We did first a number of schools. And then, of course, I finished one school, as you know, in the Anglican Church. Then I would be transferred to another parish. Then you start again, and then until I said, you know what, no. I need one school that I can be involved and influence for the rest of my life. Yeah. So that's how I started with Star School.
So how did that start then? Was it just you and a couple of families, or how did it get
No,
going?
it started, well, of course, there were people who believe in education. But the way it started, one was to acquire land. And land was very hard to come by. I knew Richard. Richard he used to be very tall. I think he's hiding somewhere. You can't see him now. But I told him, I said, Richard, you know what? I really now, like I've started schools for the church, but they keep transferring me and I start over all the time, and I can't start over any longer.
So you're too good, you see, Nathan.
Yeah, so I said, I need now to start one school. And can you help me get a school? And, you know, he's an Englishman, so he began with a budget. You know, it is impossible, it's very hard, you can't do it again, you can't. Anyway, to cut the story short, when he came back, he found money, and then we were able to buy like a side of a hill, like a whole hill almost, anyway. Because now we're like having the biggest land. So we bought it, and then we began to fundraise one building at a time, one house at a time. We started with about 45 students. Now,
so is that primary school or secondary?
We started, but now it has a high school. It's from the nursery, primary, high school, and all the kids around that place are 1,000 something, like 1,400 something. Yeah.
1,000?
Yeah, we are trying to reduce. And it has a second school, which is about 500. Wow. So we are trying to reduce the bigger school to make sure the number doesn't become very big, and then we are increasing the smaller school. But
I mean, you must be very good at organising and spotting talent to get people to take key positions. How do you do that?
There are people who you identify people who love it. There are other people like Star School has Reverend Sam, is another clergy who really loves education, and he oversees. And then CSK, the second school, has a headmaster also. So you get them, and then we have a board, like a trustee.
So you're head of that still?
Yes. So that's how we do it. There are people who love it, and they do it very well.
That's fantastic, isn't it, really?
Yeah, thank you.
The only thing I make is a mess, normally, so that's terrific, isn't it? And it's amazing, isn't it? CHI is evidence of that. It's amazing what... They have a saying in Rwandan, certainly had it when I went there, and you have heard this as well. We do the little we can, then we pray to our big God. It's amazing how many big miracles he can do with our little. I've never forgotten that. That was the very first time I went to Rwanda. They told me that. And they lived that out. Yeah. And in a sense, our lives lived that out. CHI is an example of that. As I say, it didn't start with a big blueprint. It's just two people say, what can I do to help? And it's just wonderful, isn't it? And especially, in the sense of the background of the awful genocide. And what big miracles he can come out of the rubble, if you like.
Yeah, the book of Zechariah in the Bible, it says never despise small beginnings. So God begins very small, but things grow. Yeah.
That's brilliant. So at the moment, how do you sort of see the next 4 or 5 years panning out for you, or don't you work on that? With the British, we tend to do that. Yeah. How do you sort of...
of course, each on the Star School I have people I work with, and then on the diocese I have people I work with. Yeah. So what we are seeing now on the Star School is really to refine what we are doing to make it better and try to help more kids. So we are trying to really clean it up. We just had our walkways. We are planting trees on the campuses. We are making it a good place for kids to live. study and have the best that we can give.
Yeah.
And of course, as I told you, on the side of the diocese, we are faced with the city. The city is growing. So we are cleaning our churches, we are planting churches where they are not. So we are moving. We are a big...
That's brilliant, isn't it? Just coming near to a bit of a close. CHI, under God, is 30 years old next year. How would you describe this partnership in the gospel from your side of it in Rwanda? Can I tell you what I think of it from ours? Then I'll ask you.
Yes.
Someone asked me this, you see, and I said, well, it is a partnership in the gospel. We share with brothers and sisters what God has given us plenty of, which is technology and money and things and that. And we share those. But it's two-way mission. Because our brothers and sisters in Rwanda and Uganda and wherever we've worked, they share with us what God has enriched them with, which we are poor in, which is an expectation that God is real and God will work daily in ordinary lives of ordinary people. We've got too high tech for that. And they expect God to work, and they pray in the expectation God will work. And I think that's the gift from our Christian brothers and sisters in Rwanda and Uganda to us, is that this incredible, you see God at work, you depend on him and you expect him, and then he does. And we need that because we live in such a technological society. And as you know, our society is more or less airbrushed God out of it anyway. So that's our part of it. So it'd be interesting, how does that partnership look for you?
That partnership is very, very, very important. Unfortunately, it's not really moving forward as I would wish it to move forward. The partnership, one, transforms life of individuals, transforms life of communities, transforms life of a nation. Like we are saying, we started that school we are talking. There is one school we started with an organization works with Richard, and we did not know how to build. So we made 4 poles. And one guy is really big. He went up to do the nails. He was so heavy, and the structure began to want to fall. When I came back to Kigali, I went to see the school we had started. It has 3,000 kids. When we started just one nail at a time. One nail at a time. The challenge we have is the people of God want to do things in a big way. They want to come and move a mountain. They want to, but just you do what you can.
Yeah.
What you can from your side, I do what I can. When we put this together, always God has begun in a very small way. Jesus fed 5,000 from 2 fish. And it is a small way, but things grow. Now, the miracle that makes things grow is from God.
And I suppose that's the thing again, from our side in CHI. I mean, it starts from a very small beginning. It's quite small compared with some of these massive aid agencies, but it's much more than that. But what it is, it gives people in this society, whom our society has written off as being too old or not clever enough or not wealthy enough. And God gives us a part to play in his work that will last for eternity. And going around, when I used to be the speaker, I would say it was that two-way thing, because that one of the biggest joys of being, can I say this? One of the biggest joys of being involved in CHI, from my point of view, is that when we get to heaven, there will be a queue of people from Rwanda wanting to see us and say, you gave a couple of pounds to that, or you sponsored me for a year in that project. And I learned about Jesus, and I learned that he was the Lord and Savior, and he loved me more than anyone else, and I learned to give my life to him, and I'm here because of what you've done.
Chris. I don't know now Margaret Walker knows I'm here. I don't know if Margaret Walker knows I'm an Anglican bishop.
Yeah.
I don't know if Margaret Walker knows I am a founder and whatever of Star School, and that almost 2,000 kids are in school.
Yeah.
She helped only one.
Yeah.
And remember, every year, that school has almost 2,000 kids. Every year, it's not 1 year, but they have been going on for all these years. Those people that helped us do the other school I was telling you is Richard. He has over 3,000. Every year there are 3,000 kids in those schools. So you help only one, and one helps more.
Yeah.
It has that effect.
Yeah.
So I am sure those that you've helped,
Yeah.
they are also busy helping.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you get up to heaven, if Margaret's there, you're going to have a great time telling her, aren't you? What happened.
Yes.
And that's it, isn't it? So that we, you know, under God changes eternity for people, through people, you know, like you and us and ordinary people. The world doesn't work like that. God does. He loves us like that. So in one sense, you know, we want to thank you because what you have done in, you know, and all our brothers and sisters in Rwanda and Uganda have shown us what God can do with little people. What miracles of grace he can do with us. And what you've given us is this example of bedrock trust in God on a daily basis for individuals, because he's interested in individuals. That's who he came from. Thank you so much, Nathan. Honestly, we haven't met for 20 years. It's just carrying on, isn't it? But it's the one thing that's static and all that, whether it's in Uganda, Rwanda, Harold, is this gracious God still working through folks like you and me. I'm going to pray, and then we'll give you a round of applause. Can I just pray? Let's just talk. Oh, my Lord, it is so great to be here. You've made each one of us, handmade us gloriously in your image, gloriously to reflect you in the world, gloriously to have a relationship with you that even death can't defeat, because you've defeated death. And we rejoice with our dear brother here. And we thank you. You're that sort of God to us. Thank you for this evening that you've given us to build and encourage us in our trust and in our faith in you. Knowing, Lord, that we don't know the future. We don't know what it holds. But we know you. And you hold it in your hand. And you're a good God to your people. Amen. Can we give Nathan a big round? Well done, bro. Absolutely. Oh.